The world knows of the Doomslayer that ripped and tore apart the demonic invasion from hell, but his story is connected quite closely to the Dark Lord, where he even bore his mark. This great evil had his own story and history that the angelic beings of Urdak attempted to rip away from him, a story of creation, betrayal, and the ultimate revenge. Where did the Dark Lord come from? What connection did he have to the Doomslayer? And was he always evil? Here we explore in the lore and story behind the betrayed Dark Lord, Davoth. In the beginning, there was only a void. Then, out of nothing, the first primeval being formed that would become known as Davoth. As he wandered the void of nothingness, land sprouted up and bloomed around him, where the first realm formed. The first godlike being was awake, and this was the dawn of creation. Over time, Davoth learned to control his abilities, and with the immeasurable powers of creation, he continued to work on the realm around him and named this first place in creation Jakad. All alone, Davoth wished for company to share this realm with, and as he thought it, the first people were born to Jakad and the first civilization began. The people here had great ambition without restraint and lived in prosperity and wonder. Over time, they turned their home into a paradise with great wonders, cities and technology. Davoth looked at his creations from Jakad's capital city of Amora with pride that they had thrived on this land, but this perfect age would not last. He noticed that as time passed, his people grew frail and old, where their bodies of flesh failed to hold on to and sustain the undying spirits he had created for them, which ultimately led to their deaths, one by one. This confused Davoth, as he did not understand why they did not have the same immortal properties that he had. He was a being of great power, but this was out of his ability to correct. With compassion for his mortals, Davoth decided to create a new species, a species that he could task with working together to discover a cure for mortality. To do this, he re-entered the void and formed a new realm in which he called Urdak. Within this realm, the first of the Maykr species formed. This species were different to the people of Jakad. They were all connected through a hive mind, which allowed them to work on a single task in unison, led by a leader, the Khan Maykr, and guided by elevated versions of the Maykr, labeled the Seraphim. Over time, all their knowledge, experiences, and discoveries helped them build upon the realm Davoth had formed for them, where they too created a place with magnificent technologies and wonders, with the ultimate aim to solve Davoth's problem. After many years of watching his mortals die, Davoth felt the anguish of each passing, but all he could do was wait for the Makers to find him a solution. In Urdak, the Makers eventually discovered the secrets of immortality, but over all of this time, they had observed Davoth's decline and deemed this information too dangerous to share, where they believed that if Davoth were to acquire it, then he would use it to eventually destroy everything. He was an incredibly powerful being, but they had also developed technology to counter him, and fearful that he would come for them if he discovered their secret, they chose to do something about it. After working in secret to perfect their technologies and warriors, the Makers struck and formed a seal around the realm of Jakad, blocking it off from the many realms that have formed over this time, safe from Davoth's power. Following this betrayal, Davoth's paradise became his prison. As a result of the betrayal of the Maykr, Davoth became fueled by his anger and hatred for those who had gone against him, and he slowly transformed into the Dark Lord in his eternal fury. Not only did this have a physical effect on his body, but the stunning, luscious realm of Jakad and its population fell into horror, where the land and people became twisted and jaded. The Dark Lord had been tricked by his creations who had taken everything from him, and so he sought revenge as the paradise of Jakad became the horrific realm of hell. Although the Dark Lord was trapped, he refused to accept his situation, and so he pushed against the boundaries of his prison, where he was, on occasion, able to break through the seal to send through armies of demonic entities to the earthly dimensions. In doing this, Davoth and those untwisted by his fury discovered that the souls of the tortured victims of hell contained a power, which, when adapted, gave them everlasting life and increased power: Hell Essence. In a way, Davoth had discovered what he wanted all along, but it had come at a cost. With every defeat, Davoth grew more powerful as he absorbed the souls of his victims. From Urdak, the Maykrs sent armies to Hell in an attempt to stop Davoth, his rule of Hell, and the death of the population of the earthly realms he was able to break through too. Although the Dark Lord was powerful, the Maykrs had developed technology that would help them in this war. The Seraphim had discovered a way to take the life sphere of a being and store it, where it could do no harm and merely exist. These life spheres contain the memories, intelligence, and essential nature of the being. In another war, a Maykr fought with Davoth on top of the Pyramid of the Lost within Hell. In this exchange, the creature was able to rip the Dark Lord's life sphere from his chest, where he also took a piece of his essence and power as Davoth's lifeless body fell to the ground. In this moment, this Maykr absorbed the power of the Dark Lord and became a god in his own right, blessed with the same abilities the Dark Lord had. As a new god, this Maykr became known as the Father. Although Davoth still was a living entity as a soul sphere, the Father refused to kill his creator and instead took his sphere to the Temple of Souls in Ingmar's Sanctum, a fragment of Urdak within Hell located at the top of a mountain protected by the Trial of Malagog. Only a fierce warrior would be able to come here, or someone with a direct connection from Urdak. Here, the Father believed that Davoth could exist but not interfere with the realms outside of Hell. And so, for thousands of years, Hell would grow more twisted under the newly rising Dark Lord of each age as Davoth waited to be freed, stuck in a life sphere. Over time, the Father would return to the Temple of Souls with new life spheres of flawed gods as he created new life and new realms. But the Dark Lord would still get his revenge, even if he had to wait thousands of years for it. After the fall of the Dark Lord, the Father returned to Urdak as a god. From this heavenly realm, the Maykrs explored the earthly realms and introduced themselves as godlike creatures to the species they encountered. In return for their worship and devotion, they offered these lesser beings sanctuary in the realm of Urdak upon their deaths. In this new age without the threat of Davoth, the Father and the Maykrs decided to rewrite the story of the dawn of creation and concealed any record they could find of the true story. In this scripture, they told the story of the Father, the first being who created all life, and that Urdak was in fact the first realm he created upon his formation. They went on to manipulate history where they stated that the Father created a second realm that he called Jakad. Here, he created his first god, Davoth, to watch over it. Over time, Davoth grew to love his people and help them build in this realm, full of ambition without restraint given to them by the Father. But as they grew, Davoth watched the people of this realm fall to their mortality, one by one. In Davoth's eyes, this was no paradise, it was torture, and here, the first seed of hell was planted. Seeing mortality as a curse, Davoth and his people sought a way to defeat death itself. His fear of being left alone in this realm plagued him, and so they stopped at nothing to become immortal just like he was, and those who did not participate in this search were punished harshly. In his almighty wisdom and power, the Father foresaw what was to come, the extinction of all creation at the hands of Davoth's endless pursuit of immortality for his people. So, the Father sealed off Jakad from the other realms to save them from Davoth's destructive path, which eventually led to the battle on top of the Pyramid of the Lost, where the father ripped Davoth's life sphere from his chest. As the father had once loved Davoth as one of his creations, he refused to destroy his life sphere against the wishes of his seraphim, Maykr, where he stored the life sphere of the Dark Lord in the Temple of Souls. This history of the Father as the Creator took aspects of reality and twisted it to suit the Father and his continued reign. This story of a Creator who ruled a heavenly realm and a Dark Lord of an evil realm would pass on to countless dimensions and species across time. But with the true story hidden by the Father and his followers, they would not know the truth, which fueled Davoth's eternal rage. Trapped inside the life sphere on holy ground, Davoth still retained some of his abilities. Hell was the first dimension, and so, although sealed off, it was still connected to every other dimension. Over the ages, the Father created new species and places in the void for Urdak to watch over as Hell's armies attempted to break free. That was until the Father decided to take a step back from the physical realm and asked his most trusted seraphim to transform him into a life sphere. In Urdak, the seraphim had constructed the Luminarium, a holy temple home to machines that contained and manipulated the terrible energies of the very essence of life, and one of these was able to resurrect a life sphere back into a physical form. It was here that Maykr placed the Father's life sphere, where the Maykr species came to this temple to worship him, and in return, his energy sustained their lives and watched over them. Over this time, the Maykr continued to lead the species as they explored the earthly realms, where they came across the planet of Argent D'Nur. Here, they guided the Argenta people who saw them as gods, and a civilization grew. But Hell was getting stronger, and the Father was aware of this. So, fearful of Davoth rising again, he asked Maykr to steal his life sphere from the Luminarium and take it to a place where no one would be able to find him in the Temple of Souls. Upon doing this, the people of Urdak were left without a god. Not only was this bad, but this also left the Maykr species vulnerable. The Father's influence protected them from mental and physical decay, which they called transfiguration. So, without him, they also died and then were reborn with the help of their divine machinery. The Father was also essential in choosing the next Maykr, leader of the Maykr species, who were to be reborn every 10,000 years with the collective conscious soul data of every major Maykr that had ever lived and died. But without the Father to choose the next Maykr, the reigning Khan remained in power, where she became susceptible to corruption. Within the Temple of Souls, Davoth discovered that he could speak to those who were susceptible to corruption and began to whisper to them with dark thoughts, an invisible guiding hand in which even his victims were unaware of what he was doing. As the Dark Lord whispered to the Maykr, he led her to believe that a chosen one would destroy her, where a seed of doubt and paranoia was planted in her mind. Following this, she continued to listen to the manipulations of the Dark Lord, and under his instructions, she ordered those under her servitude to build the divinity machine in Taris Nabad, the capital city of Argent D'Nur. She explained that this machine would act as a holy rite for the Night Sentinels, the warriors of Argent D'Nur, to cleanse their impurity, but in reality, she only sought to find the chosen one she believed would end her reign as Khan. And to power this machine, the Dark Lord whispered to her the location of his essence that the Father had stolen long ago as he ripped out his life sphere. While he stored the life sphere in the Tomb of Souls, he placed a piece of the Dark Lord's essence in the coffins of Urdak. Upon completion of the machine, one by one, the Maykr asked the Night Sentinels of Argent D'Nur to enter it, where it drove them mad and destroyed their souls. Unknown to her, this was the Dark Lord's plan, and she was destroying an army that had pledged their service to her, increasing her corruption. At one point, Davoth became aware of a human from planet Earth that had fought with the demons of hell, an extremely skilled warrior fueled by his hatred of demons, and he had mysteriously found himself stranded on the planet of Argent D'Nur. After meeting the priests here, he spoke of these demons, and instead of helping him, they placed him inside of the city's Colosseum, where they observed his impressive combat skills before placing him in one of their prisons. Shortly after, the armies of Hell managed to push through their seal into Argent D'Nur, where they attacked Taris Nabad. It appeared that this was what the father had fled to avoid, and a war began as the Night Sentinels fought back against Hell's forces. Throughout this, the Maykr was aware that she needed power to sustain the realm of Urdak and to stop the transfiguration process that now plagued her species without the father's presence. Then, she heard reports of a power source within Hell that could help, Hell Essence. As she and the Argenta priests experimented with this energy in secret, they discovered that if they combined the Hell Essence with Wraith energy, which the population of Argent D'Nur had already been using, they could create an even more powerful form of energy, in which they dubbed Argent Energy. The issue was that the Hell energy came from the torture of souls. Regardless, she believed she needed this energy to save her species, and so she sent Argenta slaves to Hell in secret to build factories to refine Argent energy. With this, she could power Urdak, and the Night Sentinels could fight back against Hell's forces on an even battleground, but at the cost of tortured souls. On the eve of the Black Star, Sama Maykr, at this point acting as an advisor to the Maykr, suddenly found his faith in her clouded. Unknown to him, this was yet another one of the Dark Lord's whispers. In this, he was told that the Maykr would lead them to ruin, and subsequently was guided to release the human prisoner and place him inside of the divinity machine, but this time he reversed the polarity of it, giving him power instead of destroying him. As the machine activated, the human, Doom Guy, absorbed the essence of the Dark Lord that powered it and gained incredible abilities. In a way, he became another primeval, a godlike being powered by the Dark Lord and fueled by a rage for demons, where he became known as the Doomslayer. The Dark Lord's plan was working. He now had a warrior powerful enough to fight with the Maykr and other powerful beings. He just needed to wait for the Doomslayer to turn against them. The Doomslayer hated all evil, and those that the Dark Lord had corrupted would soon meet their end. As the war between Hell and Argent D'Nur continued, the Night Sentinels discovered the slave factories that the Maykr had set up. At this point, the Doomslayer had joined the Night Sentinels and fought alongside them. At a pivotal point, the Argenta priests explained that there was a place in Hell that the Night Sentinels could use to end this war, and after arriving here, the army found that they had been betrayed by the priests as Hell's army swarmed them. One by one, the soldiers fell until only the Doomslayer fought, a being so powerful that they were unable to defeat. So, they lured him into the Kadinga Sanctum and trapped him inside of a sarcophagus, where he would wait to be freed. The Dark Lord had created a domino effect in which he hoped would lead to the Doomslayer taking out those who had betrayed him. Over time, the Doomslayer was released from his prison and he fought with many demons, fueling his rage. Following his release, he destroyed the Well, an Argent energy power source developed by the Maykr and the Argenta priests, who now went by Hell priests, which stopped the flow of power Urdak and the Maykr species needed to thrive. In response to this, the Maykr led an assault on planet Earth with the aim to use the souls of the humans to replace the energy source the Doomslayer had destroyed. This eventually led to the Doomslayer entering Urdak, where he fought with the Maykr. As a being powered by the essence of the Dark Lord, he was able to stop her reign of terror. In her haste to take Earth, she released the Icon of Sin before her confrontation, which removed the seal that protected Urdak from hell. Due to this, Davoth had another win. His demons could now enter the Holy Realm. With the Maykr dead at the hands of the Doomslayer and Urdak now overridden by demons, he continued to whisper his dark truths to the corrupted. On his path of hatred, the Doomslayer managed to complete the trial of Malagog and discovered the life sphere of Davoth. He understood that by Hell's law, if the Dark Lord was defeated in ritual combat, any demon outside his realm would be destroyed, and with the ultimate aim to destroy evil and save the realms outside of Hell, he destroyed the life sphere of the Father and took Davoth's sphere to a now corrupted Urdak so that he could restore his body in the Luminarium. Although the Father's life sphere had been destroyed, Maykr had previously transformed a part of him into an AI system called Vega to watch over Earth, hidden away from the view of the Dark Lord, just without his essence of power. After the ritual, the Dark Lord found himself in a physical form, mirroring his greatest warrior. Hell needed a strong leader to guide them, and what better form to do this than the Doomslayer? Here, the Doomslayer attempted to shoot him, but this holy place did not allow blood to be spilled, and so, Davoth ordered the Doomslayer to meet him within Hell in the capital city of Amora where they could have their fight. The Doomslayer had fulfilled the goals Davoth had set for him, but in order to have his true vengeance, the Doomslayer also had to die. As he returned to his realm in physical form, Davoth prepared for battle. He did not have the abilities he used to have, but the first people of Amora had managed to remain untwisted by Hell thanks to the power of Hell Essence. In this time, they had grown the city and technologies even more, where they used their knowledge to build a mech suit for the Dark Lord. As the Doomslayer arrived and fought with Davoth, the forces of Hell battled around them with the armies of the other realms as the final confrontation between good and evil commenced, where Davoth told the truth of the dawn of creation. After a brutal fight between these two godlike beings, Davoth fell to the Slayer and he accepted his fate. The Doomslayer had beaten him fairly in combat, and so he had the right to finish him. The Dark Lord was evil, but he was honorable. In his final moment, he asked the Doomslayer if there was anything he wanted to say to his creator, and in response, the Doomslayer said no as he struck his chest, killing him. As decreed by Hell's law, the Dark Lord had been defeated in ritual combat, and so all demons outside of Hell's borders were destroyed with him. Although Davoth had failed and died at the hands of the Doomslayer, a being of his own creation, he had still won in part. The Doomslayer's need for vengeance and anger at the demons had led to the fall of Urdak, the death of the Maykr, and the destruction of the Father's life sphere. As the Doomslayer had gained his abilities through the essence of the Dark Lord in the Divinity Machine, and bore his mark as a result, he too fell with the Dark Lord. Not to death, but he felt weaker. With Davoth's enemies dead, he had not failed completely. This was not the end of everything, but he had managed to manipulate many beings as a mere life sphere from the Tomb of Souls. Davoth had been betrayed by his own creations, and he felt his revenge was justified until the very end. This is where his story ends, but with how unpredictable this timeline is, maybe there will be more to this tale in the future. This is a new series for me. I fell in love with Doom and its lore and got through the whole of Doom, Doom Eternal, and the prequels in about 2 weeks because I loved it so much. Not only was the fast-paced combat a nice change of pace from Half-Life and the other games I cover, but it came with a deep lore that is so well ingrained into the game. The lore is well written but a little confusing. The false story of the father and the true origin of creation is really interesting, and after what Davoth went through, I understand why he did what he did. I do want to mention that I had to brush over some details throughout this as I wanted to stay on track with Davoth's lore. But there are so many variables in the story, and Davoth seems to be a major part of every part of the Doomslayer's life. So going forward, I will give each topic their own video. I have done my best to make this as accurate as possible. I pride myself on accuracy, but with the real story and the false Maykr history, it was tough to differentiate what was real and what was not. I did find a few inconsistencies and contradictions in the timeline too, so there may be different interpretations of the order of events depending on what you think. But with this video, I have ordered the events in what I believe made the most sense. Feel free to add your own thoughts in the comments below. Regardless, this is the toughest and most rewarding script I have ever put together. There was so much information to condense and put into a chronological timeline based on the Codex Entries. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like and a comment on your thoughts to boost that algorithm. It would help a lot. I would like to thank my patrons and channel members who are on the screen right now, and an extra special thank you to my gold tier patrons and channel members: Jonas, Lewis, Queen Arby, Fluffy the Dragon, Mr. M791, and Ruben Mendoza. What did you think of this lore? Do you think Davoth was actually a victim and justified in his actions? And what Doom lore would you like me to cover next? Let me know in the comments below. Now Doomslayer, enjoy your day. Bye.